the Childhood Cancer Perspective. I'd like to once again thank you all for sticking with me as I detail this journey, or shit show as my wife likes to call it, through childhood cancer from diagnosis, treatment, hospice, and the unfortunate timely death of our daughter JC to choroid plexus carcinoma. Last week, I was unable to get an episode up because we were in DC for CureFest. And for those of you that don't know what CureFest is, it is a week long, packed day to day of events of the childhood cancer community, from meet and greets with other organizations to other families, as well as a brainstorm summit that talks about the advances in brain cancer, DIPG, DMG, advances, medicines, groups to get together to help create a database of tissues and samples to help create and possibly find more treatments and better treatments, number one, but also but but more options for protocols. In addition, there are just an enormous amount of opportunities when you're there to speak to your legislators, to speak to the people that are making the decisions, have the ability to do the research, find the samples and the protocols, and make a difference. And if you're not involved in the childhood cancer world, whether it's through a personal connection or even a friendly connection, if you have no connection to the pediatric cancer world, but you're listening to this podcast, or you've met people or know people that are going through it, I really do recommend that you go and experience CureFest in person. It is something that will really change your views on the way that our kids are taken care of in this country, the way that they're seen, the opportunities that they're given. It will really open your eyes to why parents like myself and so many others have to fight so hard and carry the weight of the change that has to be done in this country, because there's so many people that are just unwilling to do the work and help us out. We are the ones that are in charge, and we are the ones that are shouldered with that weight. So it really is an eye-opening experience that I would love for everybody involved that hears this podcast, that is within earshot. Please be a part of it. Even if you can only come for the last couple of days, you will see some things that will just blow your mind. You will hear things that are incredible, that will make you cry, that will hurt your heart, but will also warm your heart, and will also give you a sign of hope, and give you some reasons to believe that we're going to figure this out. We're going to make a difference, and people are listening, but we have to be speaking together in order for them to hear what we're saying. So I want to talk a little bit about our experience this week with Child Life or Child Life, excuse me, with CureFest, and with also what we plan on going forward with JC's Law and the initiatives trying to make a difference in at least the state of Wisconsin, and eventually moving into the national level. I was part of a couple of events this weekend where I could hear people speak, and we met some incredible people that are doing some incredible things. And one quote that came up a couple times is turning your pain into purpose. And I've said it before that when a family goes through the loss of a child through this deadly disease, the number one killer of children in America by disease, when they go through a loss of a child, there are two different things that will happen. One, that family will turn that pain into purpose, and that family will create foundations, organizations, whether it's through care packages or research, or helping with Disney trips, helping with parties, helping bring smiles to hospitals, whatever it is. The other side of that aisle is that people will they will Homer Simpson into the bushes, and they will just disappear. They don't want to be part of the world anymore. They don't want to talk about the world anymore. They don't want to be associated with that world. They're not forgetting about their child or not honoring their child. They just don't want to be a part of this world anymore. So when people turn their pain into purpose, and let me preface this by saying, whichever one you choose is fine. There is no right or wrong way to grieve, right or wrong way to turn your pain into either purpose, or turn your pain into just finding a new way to live and not focusing on this world anymore. There's no right or wrong to that. When you turn your pain into purpose, and that's something that sat with us because that's what we did. We turned our pain into something positive by sending the care packages, by continuing to do that. 15 to 20 now every single month we are sending out, and we are we are consistently having a steady stream of children and parents that are reaching out, asking us for help. What can we do? And we are trying to expand on the types of things we can do as an organization, from the care package side of it to hopefully one day financial assistance, and even getting into excuse me, into collaborations with other organizations that could help us really expand and give children and families a broader option of things that we could do. And we also, the people that we met this weekend were just incredible. They're incredible human beings that really, the light shines through their children that they lost and what they chose to do, or even people that aren't directly connected chose to do something incredible. And to watch that and to see that in person and to build relationships that we will be able to use as Battlecorn is unbelievable. And we are looking forward to those collaborations that we have started and those relationships that are already building right now. But what we're really missing in this fight, I think, when all these stuff we've listened to this weekend is the research. Now, the one focus in the Brainstorm Summit, for instance, the one focus in the Brainstorm Summit is brain cancer and brain tumors. And that's also was brought up at the Childhood Cancer Caucus, and I'll speak about that as well. But the one thing that's missing is dedicated research and dedicated eyes and vision to every specific type of brain cancer, meaning that being the deadliest type of childhood cancer, it gets the least amount of funding, and it also gets the least amount of vision and eyes. Okay, it doesn't get the the lights and sirens that the other ones do. Now, DIPG and DMG and ATRT are extremely deadly brain cancers. They are not necessarily a death sentence, but they are extremely deadly and fatal brain cancers that really need the research. And organizations like Chad Tough, Tougher Together, these are working to end DIPG or create better protocols and treatments based on uh, tissue samples and based on research just into that disease. And that's fantastic, and I applaud them. And I hope that they're able to come up with the research that allows these children to live their lives and not be continuously going through day to day being told there's nothing else we could do. Speaking in general to one mother that we've met through social media, and we met through our TikTok adventures, if you will call them, and her name is Coral. And she lost her daughter. Her daughter's name was Luna, and to that DMG DIPG type of cancer. And listening to her speak, the last night that we were there, we went out to dinner with her and her friends, and they were speaking about how when she was first diagnosed, the first thing out of the doctor's mouth were, "There's nothing we can do. She's going to pass away from this. There's literally no protocols that we can put forward." To her, that was not enough, and that was not okay. She reached out. She did what she had to do to give her daughter the best life she could with the worst odds possible, being told right up front she's not going to make it. To me, that breaks my heart. And I know that it breaks my wife's heart when we were listening to that as well, because that's not okay. For you to come in and the first thing that you say is there's nothing we can do. That's not the doctors that I'm mad at, or even the researchers and scientists. That's the fact that there just isn't any information out there because there's no funding put forth to create these databases, to create these protocols. Now there are things that are starting, okay? I will not say there's not a thing. There are things that are starting. You have the Childhood Cancer Data Initiative. That is supposed to create those data sets that you could then bring in enough samples that you could start to study it and create protocols. That is something. The Star Reauthorization Act is something else that is helping with that. The Gabriella Miller 2.0, that is supposed to create $12 million worth of research. So what I'm getting at is that these bills are supposed to come through and they're supposed to help with this type of research, but we're still having children like Luna and her mother Coral being told there's nothing we can do. This is not okay. That same type of cancer is has been deadly since it took an astronaut's child decades ago, and you can look it up. And there still isn't any research to understand why it's so deadly or why we can't do anything about it. What can we do to treat it? That's unacceptable. There are advances every single day when it comes to some of the more higher funded cancers like breast cancer. Or even testicular cancer, or things like that. There and lung cancer. There are advances all the time. There are new drugs. There are new trials. There are all of this. It's all available to adults, but it is not available to kids, and that's not okay. The one we met, another organization that was there, and that group is named Onco Heroes, and they only create drugs for children. That's all they do. The Race for Children's Act, that is something that was created by Representative McCall, who is the head of the Childhood Cancer Caucus. That is supposed to say that if a drug is good enough for an adult, they need to make an equivalent of that drug for the child. And we're not talking about taking that drug and putting it in a smaller vial. No, they need to create the research, create the protocols, and create the drugs and therapies that are suitable for children based on that, which means it should be a 50-50 split down the middle, and it's not right now. We hear lately, and you'll see it on Facebook if you pay attention to it, or Instagram, which I'm becoming a lot more active on. You'll see that they're putting out memes and talking about how the government funding has gone up to 8% for children. Now, that seems about as significant to me as the gas only being $3 a gallon and not 3.50. It's not a significant move, and it still sucks, because that still means that more than 90% of the funding for cancer research goes to adults. Listen, adults deserve to live too. They deserve to have the best life possible if they're stricken with this damn disease, but it should be right down the middle. Our children are our most valuable asset, and they are being left behind with no options. Now, because of the certain types of advances and the things that they're doing in the DIPG and DMG world, things that I was seeing at this Brain Summit, things like the One Link portal, things like or DIPG One Link, and things like the DIPG Navigator, things that we're putting research together where people can go and get it all in one place, or you can bring communities together in that certain population of people that are stricken with that type of cancer. I want to do the same thing, and I want to do the same thing for CPC. Now, I have spoken this to doctors, to researchers, to scientists, to people that are working with their organizations for things like this, and I say the word choroid plexus carcinoma, and people look at me like I have two heads. These are people that are in the medical field and they've never heard of this type of brain cancer. JC's cancer was so rare that when it comes to the brain cancer list, if you look at the types and the amount that it affects, CPC is only 3%. 3% of brain tumors in children are choroid plexus carcinomas. There's no protocol for that. You want to know why? Because it's such a small population of people that nobody's putting any research or effort into it. When the reality of the situation is you should be putting your efforts into the rarest of the rare. Start from the bottom, the rarest of the rare. Find protocols and cures for those and wipe that 3% out. Wipe that 3% out. Then work your way up, okay? There should be research into every single type of cancer for children. I've said it before. I've said it on my other social medias. Other people have said it as well. You understand that when you go to the store, there is an aisle for children's medications, children's Tylenol, children's Motrin, children's everything. There's a separate aisle or a separate wall just for children's medication. So why are we giving them the same type of chemotherapy drugs and immunotherapies that adults are receiving? It's not okay, and it doesn't make any sense. And this is something that is going to cause a major rift in the cancer world, because people like me are extremely outspoken, extremely angry. I wanted to walk out, excuse me, I wanted to walk out of that meeting with the Childhood Cancer Caucus, with the Brainstorm Summit. I wanted to walk out and I wanted to scream. Not because I'm not happy that they're making advances for that world, for that DIPG, the DMG world. Not because I'm not happy about that. I am ecstatic about that. I've seen firsthand what that type of brain cancer does to these children. I want that cured. Absolutely, I do. But it bothers me that I don't ever hear any type of mention about about the type of cancer that affected JC, which means the new initiative for us as an organization, as an advocate, as a father, as an outspoken person, we are going to fix this damn disease. Not only are we going to be moving forward with the JC's Law initiative, that meaning that we are going to be talking to the researchers, the doctors, the scientists, the hospitals that are actually doing research on pediatric cancer or on pediatric diseases. We're going to be speaking to them. I will be personally speaking to them, sharing my story, sharing my disdain for the fact that there's nothing changing right now, sharing my disdain for the fact that I just found out that Wisconsin gives $0 to pediatric cancer. That is not okay. We have one of the biggest children's hospitals around, and we don't give any money for research. That's bullshit. We're going to fix that. When we find out exactly what they need, and we find out exactly where they're lacking and what we can do to help them, we are then going to lobby those politicians to make a damn difference so that we can make sure that no other kids have to go through what JC went through, what Sam went through, what Luna went through, what Robin is currently going through, what Anna went through, what DJ went through, what all these kids fighting, what they're going through or what they had to go through. It has to stop. It has to stop. We cannot continue along this path anymore. If nothing else, what this weekend does, and I could, if I pulled out my phone, I could show it on the camera. I have notes a mile long that I take during all these events for ideas that I want to talk about or ideas that I want to initiate into the pediatric cancer world. I want to make a difference in a positive way. And I said it the first night we were there. I have to make it work. I have to make something work. Otherwise, I will feel like I have failed JC and I have failed all the other kids that we stand up for. Every single one of them that we've given a voice, every parent that we've helped get their accounts big enough where they can go live and talk to us and share their story. Every single family that we've come into contact with, I will feel like we failed unless we make a difference. The Childhood Cancer Caucus, when we went to that meeting, it's very interesting in the fact, number one, this is the only cancer caucus like this of its type. Before it was started 14 years ago, there was no talk of pediatric cancer in Congress at all. Not a damn word. And now they have an entire caucus, and I'm happy to say that my representative, Mr. Mike Gallagher, is on that caucus by my request. He is on that caucus now, and my wife and I were able to meet with him the Wednesday that we got into town last week. Able to meet in his office with him and a few other people to talk about what we've been doing and the trouble that we've been having with trying to get any type of initiatives passed in this state. He gave me some good ideas. He gave me some good feedback. He gave me some muscle that I can use to get in the door of more of these politicians, and also some help in getting into the doctors' offices and getting into the hospitals. I am looking forward to working alongside of him and working alongside my local representatives as well to make a difference. Now, this caucus meeting really, it provides you with a lot of hope because there's a lot of changes that are happening and they continue to happen. And a few things that we learned about, and I urge you to take a minute and look these things up. They are going to be incredible when they're unleashed on the pediatric cancer community. When they are unleashed and able to go full force and the funding comes in to allow these things to happen, there's going to be incredible results. The first thing, and I think one of the things that was one of the most interesting is something called flash radiation. Flash radiation is literally taking about 300 times the normal amount of radiation that you would get on a long term when you go in for radiation treatment, and it's in a split second. And what it does is it goes so fast and it's so much at one time. There are virtually no side effects. There's no burns because you can be burned from radiation. The hair loss, you will lose it, but it comes back like normal. There's no irregular hair loss. And the results are fantastic. And it started in human trials the end of last year. So they're definitely doing it, but it's very expensive. And it can only be done with a proton radiation machine, which by quick Google searching looks like they're about 50 grand. Now, that's chump change when it comes to the amount of funding that is going to every other cancer across the nation and every other cancer that is not pediatric. those types of machines should be in every single children's hospital, every single research. They should be in every damn hospital that does research or major oncology. They should be there. That's something that needs to be pushed. And I urge you to look it up. It is a very interesting thing. It is very promising to see what the results are and something like that. Also, talking about another thing we heard about was natural killer cells. And a company that you should look up is called Encore, Nkore, and it's based on the fact that you can take a person's, so anybody. So let's say that this was something that was around when JC was sick, and it was an available option to us. You could take my healthy cells out of my body, and this is not the same as a BMT, like a stem cell transplant or a bone marrow transplant. This is taking the healthy cells and basically turning them into killer cells going into the body of somebody with cancer. And then what happens is that your immune system, essentially, it gets tricked by the cancer cells. So in the easiest way, that cancer cell eventually finds a way to tell the immune system, hey, I'm not bad, leave me alone. And it does. And then that allows the cancer to spread. These natural killer cells have the ability to go in and say, no, sir, we're going to take care of you because that's our job. And it wipes out the cancer cells, eliminating them instantly, because it's like your own natural army that you're unleashing into the body. That is extremely interesting. Also, the use of cannabinoids with cancer treatments and things like that. It is extremely interesting, and I urge all of you to listen. It was very enlightening to hear. At the same time, what I will tell you is when it comes to listening to all of these new advances, which I love listening to them because I think it's great that we're going to see some advances coming out in the next 5-10 years that could virtually wipe out cancer in certain populations of children, certain age groups, could wipe out types of cancers. It really could make a massive difference in just the life expectancy and the quality of life that these children receive with these new treatments and these new protocols. But at the same time, what I will tell you is this. When we go to this caucus meeting, we go to Brainstorm Summit. When we went to the Golden Toast Dinner last year, which is something where it's hosted by the caucus, they basically, let the families come in. There's a dinner served. They kind of talk about, a few things here and there, little speeches, and it's hard. And I look at my wife and I see her crying, and it takes a lot really to get her to get emotional. And I see her crying, and she's sad, but she's also pissed. And I'll tell you why she's mad. She's mad because people are so excited about these types of advancements right now, but we don't have our daughter. It wasn't advancement enough to where we could put our daughter at ease and we could give her a better life. These advances are far behind where they should be, and it's not fair. And to that, I say absolutely. I think that we should be angry. I think we should be happy that these are coming out, but I think we should be pissed that it's taken so damn long and it's still not here. It's not done. It's not. It's we have some things that are that cannabinoid treatments, things like that. They have to go out of the country and then get fast tracked to get FDA approved before they can even be used. So there's so many roadblocks, so many hindrances when it comes to actually getting these things approved and getting things pushed forward, that it's almost prohibitive to be able to do it. It turns so many people off to be able to actually move forward with these treatments or move forward with these studies because they're getting shut down by the very people that are supposed to be supporting them. So listening to those stories, listening to that speaker was very. It was good to hear. It was good to hear, but at the same time, it's also um, very disheartening because it means that these advances are so far behind that they didn't give our children a chance to live. They didn't give our children a chance to survive and to thrive, and they didn't give our children the chance to grow up and be what they should have been, which is right by our sides, doing everything that their life said that they should have been able to do as kids, as adults, as teenagers. They're missing out on all of that because these advances are so far behind. To hear that it's somewhere between 40 and 60 years since a new drug specifically for pediatric cancer has been developed leaves you wondering, what the hell are you doing? Drugs for other types of adult cancers are coming out all the time. New types of treatments or therapies for breast cancer or for uh, testicular cancer or lung cancer or pancreatic cancer, whatever the case may have you. There's new treatments, there's possible new protocols, there's options, there's all these types of things that are happening for adults, but the kids are getting left behind in these treatments. And when I look on the social media pages of politicians, of governors and things like that, and they're talking about the kids and we have to protect the kids or we have to do this for them, and I think, at what point are you going to give a shit about every single kid, every single kid and what they're going through on a daily basis? Because you're definitely leaving out an entire population of people. You say that you want to be here for the children, that you want to make sure that they're okay, but you're not. And when I hear those types of things, it frustrates me to no end. And I wish I could take these people by the face and just shake them, because they're not understanding the full ramifications of what this disease can do. When I spoke to my representative when we were in DC, I told him, you understand that pediatric cancer is not an impossibility for anybody. It is an absolute, disgustingly horrible possibility for every single child in this country. And it's because it's not about the food that you eat. It's not about where you live. It's not about your socioeconomic status. It's not about the color of your skin, your race, your creed, your ethnicity, your religion. It's not. Pediatric cancer is almost solely based on shitty luck, on absolutely no outside factors. When you have an 11-year-old child that is stricken down by a liver cancer, a cancer designated mostly for drinkers and smokers and drug users, what the fuck? She's 11 years old. You have a child like JC, 8 years old, 8 years old, just stricken down by a brain cancer that makes no sense at all. No reasoning whatsoever for it to happen. There's no rhyme or reason for why she relapsed. There's no rhyme or reason for why she was NED for months before anything happened. There's no rhyme or reason why one day she woke up and it just got bad. The reality of the situation is, when you really stop and take a look at the way that these cancers happen to these kids, you understand that there is no rhyme or reason to any of it. There is no environmental factors. Yes, you can absolutely prevent certain types of cancers. You can reduce your risk of certain types of cancers. You can increase your risk of certain types of cancers based on your lifestyle, based on the way you eat or the way you live or that type of thing. But when it comes to these kids, you're talking about children that are diagnosed at months old. Months old. What did they do wrong? What did they do wrong? They didn't have a chance to do all the things you're saying that could cause it. The people that are on the internet, the trolls that like to come out and tell you that, well, because you fed them this or because you fed them that or because you did this and that. No, there's no rhyme or reason to any of this. It is straight shitty luck that these children are stricken by this disease in all these different forms. The worst part about the whole entire thing is, because it's so unknown, nobody gives a damn to do any type of research to find out why it continues to happen and find out how we can help fix it. The database initiative is fantastic, and having other organizations that have these databases or they're working to do that is great. But if they're not going to take and go the extra mile and make sure that they have that database of every single cancer that affects children, it's useless, because it's only going to it's going to help and affect a select few, and it needs to help and affect all. Which means we need to be mindful of the fact that if there are signs and symptoms that your child is having and you're just not sure about what it could be, you need to make sure as a parent that you push like hell to get tested every which way to make sure that your worst nightmares are not realized. I know this is a hard thing to say, but like I said, it is a possibility. It is a disgusting, horrible possibility that every child on this planet could be stricken with cancer at any moment. But that's what the politicians need to understand. Every single one of these politicians has kids at some age. Some have them young, some are teenagers, some are grown. It could be a grandkid. It could be somebody any single day you could wake up and your child could wake up with a headache, or their eye turned in sideways, or pain in their left arm, or bruises on their body you can't explain, or throwing up, or not being able to walk straight. Their cognitive abilities change. They lose hearing in their ear. They go blind. There's a million different things that are signs and symptoms of a lot of things, but they're also signs and symptoms of cancer. And the reality is that until it affects somebody that can make a decision personally, they don't seem to give a shit. But guess what? I've partnered with a couple different groups through alliances and through advocacy groups, and I've partnered with people that I hope to be able to be in DC a lot more, and I hope to be able to be in Madison a hell of a lot more. And I like to hear the word no. You want to know why I like to hear the word no? Because it lights a fire under my ass like it is nonstop. Like I want to get in there and I want to burn a hole in the door and say, listen, I'm going to stand here and I am going to be as loud as I have to be until you want to listen to what I'm telling you. These children are suffering every single day. Now, during CureFest, you only saw about 200 to a little over 200 pairs of shoes because we were inside because of the weather. But there are 1,800 children every single year that are not going to survive this disease. There are 47 kids every single day that are going to be diagnosed with this disease. That's a lot of families affected by pediatric cancer, and I guarantee every single one of those families has a dozen families, each one of them, that are close to them that may know somebody else that's affected by this disease. It is a nationwide problem. We continue to take care of everybody else. Everybody else's problems become our problems, and our problems get left in the dust. Well, I can promise you that as an advocate for pediatric cancer, as an angel father to JC Rose Sunshine Valley, or as an absolute dedicated human being, a person that does not have an off button, a person with zero quit, in an organization that is only continuing to grow. Battlecorn will continue to grow into the monster it needs to be until change is made. You will also continue to see the words chasing rainbows for JC, and that will be pushing for a cure for choroid plexus carcinoma, a change in a disease type that gets no vision, in a disease type that most people have not heard about. I am not somebody that ever quits. I do not give up. I do not stop. I have a mission. I have an idea. I have a method to this madness. And what I'm telling you as a person, as a human being, everybody in this world should care about pediatric cancer. Everybody in this world should understand that gold is given to children because of how precious they are. Everybody in this world should understand that without these children growing up, making mistakes, living life, we as a country, as a world, have no future. And that is unacceptable. I'm scared every day about the future that we're going to have as a country, based on the people that are running it and based on the people that are coming out of college now. I'm scared every day. But what I can tell you is that these kids that we're losing every day at months and single-digit years, to young teenagers that we're losing every single day to pediatric cancer, the fact that when we go to DC, that angel wall gets bigger and bigger every year, the fact that my video at our gala for angels has to get longer every year, this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable to JC. It's unacceptable to Sam, to Luna, to DJ, to Anna. It's unacceptable to all of them. And I'm not going to sit back. And I'm not going to sit on my ass and wait for something to happen. I'm going to make something happen. So I thank you all so much for sticking with me. I know this got a little bit real towards the end there. I'm probably going to put out another episode pretty quickly to kind of make up for what didn't happen last week. But understand, change is coming in a very, very fast fashion. I'm not going to sit back anymore and I'm not going to stop making this my mission. JC left me something to do, and JC's dad doesn't quit. I will be, and I know everybody in our army will be forever JC strong. We will never stop fighting, and we will always continue to grow this network of people and advocates. And the other thing that I heard this weekend that I want to leave you with is this: a lot of people speaking is hard to hear. A lot of people advocating and saying something that they want is hard to hear. But if all of us together are saying the same thing, then we're pretty damn loud, and we're not going to be stopped. So thank you all so much for sticking with me again. I appreciate it so much. I hope to see you around here next week. I hope the viewership and the listenership continues to rise, and I will continue to bring you more information about updates that I'm doing with JC's Law, updates from things that we learned from CureFest, as well as updates and a little bit more about our story as I continue to put out there things that I hope that you can relate to. Stay tuned, as there are going to be more updates coming on all of my social media about things that we're doing in the pediatric cancer world, as well as things we're doing in the advocacy world. Thank you all so much, and I'll talk to you next time.